about 10 or 15 minutes after the game, we'll have about a handful of players in that side room next to the press room for interviews kind of right away. And then after that, we'll bring 2 players to the podium individually before coach. So we'll do about 4 or 5 players in the side room, followed by 2 players and coach at the podium. We will have a transcript today, microphone holders today. We got Leandra and John. With that, we'll get with Coach.
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon. Welcome to game week, finally here. And, just good to finish camp, end of camp, and begin preparation for Saturday. So, as I indicated last Thursday, I think, the guys have done a pretty good job during camp, and thought the last week went really well. Saw some sharper execution out there, and overall pretty healthy. Phil really is the worst injury we had, which try to keep him safe this week. But happy with what we've seen. I think we're getting good leadership and pretty consistent on that for most of the year, and it's been consistent as we've moved forward. And then the challenge over the weekend and then starting this week is just transition into normal student life. A lot more activity in Iowa City this past week or so, and our guys are out there with student body now. So got that to deal with. They're back in classes, and then we've had a spike in heat too. So it's, a couple things going on that way. But anyway, good to be in game week. That's for sure. And I think the team's really excited about having a chance to play in Kinnick. And it's going to be, first game challenges are always a challenge. You've got veteran players who are a little bit more used to it. For a lot of the new guys, it's going to be a totally new experience, having fans there. And then, your first game, you always, there's a lot of unknowns with your opponent. And I'll talk about that in a little bit here, but that's kind of where it's at. So as we look forward, moving forward in the game here, our captains, defensively, we've got Jay Higgins and Quinn Schulte. Offensively, we've got Luke Lachey and Cade McNamara. Those will be our 4 captains going out for the toss. And then transitioning to Illinois State, obviously a good program. They were 6-5 last year. Of those 5 losses, I think 4 of those were by 8 points total. So played in a lot of close games. Coach Back's been there since 2009. I've known Brock for quite some time. A lot of respect for him as a player back in the 80s when he played at Purdue. Outstanding player for him there, and he's had a great career in coaching. Certainly was a big part of the success Purdue had when Joe Toller was the head coach there. When we got here, they were awfully tough to beat, and Brock was a big part of that, being the D coordinator. Gotten to know him over the years, outstanding person, just a really good football coach. And then if you look broader, a lot of the guys on the staff have experience at Illinois State, so they've got an identity. It's no big surprise. It's a veteran staff for the most part, and I think they have a good idea what they want to do, what they want to accomplish. So a lot of respect for them that way. And then, football-wise, they've got a lot of returners back. On both sides of the ball, plus special teams. Their specialists are back for the most part. Pretty balanced offensively, run pass. They get the ball pretty quick, so it's hard to get to their quarterback. Defensively, it's a little bit of a different preparation because they've got a 3-man front, and we've been practicing against 4 basically all camp. So some adjustment there. And then, as you might imagine, they've got a good pressure package. I think we had one of Brock's blitzes up on our board for about 3 years. I think it was 02, 03, 04. One of those memorable ones. So, again, I'm sure we'll see some things on Saturday that'll be a challenge for us. And as I mentioned, their specialists are back on special teams. So, good football team. We expect them to be a really tough competitive football team like they have been in the past. So that's what we've got to get ready for here. Just transition real quickly, and I'll throw it out for questions. But, just thrilled that the kid captain program is still in effect. I believe this is the 16th year. I think it was 2009 when they started that. And it's just a really, really good concept, a really nice way to honor some special people. And this week it'll be Carter Schmidt, who is from Coralville. His grandfather, Kent Ellis, was actually a captain here in 1980. So a little connection to the program that way. And Carter had a rare form of leukemia early in his life, and, had a bone marrow transplant right before his first birthday, and has been treated since, and looks like he's in great shape. He's been pronounced clear and cured, so really happy about that. And he's a very active 8-year-old right now, likes to ride his bike, and very involved in sports. And then the last thing, just want to pay tribute to Don Sucky. He played here in '56, and Don passed earlier in this month from Belle Plaine, played center on the 56 team, second team All-American, first team All-Big Ten, and served as an honorary captain back here in '04 for our Kent State game, and just a first-class guy. So had a really long, productive life, and our feelings to his family, certainly. Just a great guy. So that being said, I'll throw it out for questions.
Adam Jacoby, Hawkeye Beacon. Thanks for your time today, Coach. The depth chart that just came out, Kamari Molton at RB1 is probably the splashiest update there. How has he ascended to that spot, and what are you looking to see from guys like Leishon and Caleb?
Yeah, I figured that might get everybody's attention, but it's more a byproduct of what's going on. Two things, really. Leishon's missed some time. He's had an injury that nagged pretty much throughout camp. So Kamari got a lot of work this August, and the other component there is Kamari's really done a nice job, and I think I kind of mentioned that or alluded to that back in December. Even he really started to look comfortable and did a lot of good things. Did a good job in the spring, and has really just been really consistent all the way through August. So they're all going to play, but he's really done a nice job. Leishon's only been back, maybe 8-10 days, and it looks like he's good to go. But it was just he had a really long, nagging injury. It was just took a while to get worked through, but happy he's back. And the other guys have done a good job too. So really, I feel pretty good about the group, but anxious to see him play. And Kamari, especially, we haven't really seen him go in game activity.
John.
Kirk, Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. I think this offseason you alluded to Michael Penix Jr. in the context of Kade, and Michael Penix was someone that had major surgical repairs and came back, and was not that those two guys are exactly the same, but can you just kind of expand on maybe the context of how you see guys coming, the ability to come back from multiple major injuries?
Right. Yeah, I'll put it in the context that, I've sat in a lot of meetings, medical meetings and academic meetings, but a lot of medical meetings since, 26 years now. We had one last night. So I don't pretend to know anything about medicine, but, you listen and you pay attention, and then also you witness things. And I can go back just the contrast between the 80s, 90s, and now, the way all injuries are different now. Certainly an ACL repair is much, much different than it was 40 years ago. Labral surgeries have come a long way. Most of them are arthroscopic. So, but the bottom line is this, ACL repairs is our experience that, it just takes time to get them back. And Cohen came back, Entringer came back from his in record speed. That's at one end of the spectrum. Sometimes they're slower. I think they're different for every individual, just like any injury. And, but the bottom line is, a player has to get confidence in his body and confidence that he can do what he has to do to perform whatever his position may be. So, it's, I don't want to say routine. Nothing's routine medically, but it'd be really unusual for a player to be, I think, deterred from an injury like what Kade had. And it was a very clean repair. Again, I'm no expert on medicine, but, it's always good when they say everything is clean, really nice repair and that type of thing. Then it's just a matter of time for the physical component, and then also, where a player gets the confidence. And I think it was that open scrimmage was really the first time I saw him look like, he just kind of put it aside, and then we've seen a lot of those pictures since then. So I think he's more than ready to go and really confident in his body.
John Steppe, Cedar Rapids Gazette, obviously a little different this week with you not being there on Saturday. Yep. How do you kind of prepare for that, and what's kind of your approach at that wide receiver spot in terms of who's spending the most time with them?
Yeah, so a couple things. Those are things we're working through this week and really haven't talked much about it. We'll start that tomorrow, and then Thursday's our day to really kind of, talk about all those things. Yeah, I did think of one good thing about this. At least I can blame if, something happens Saturday and just say, I don't know why they did that. That was stupid. So maybe there is a positive here in this whole deal. But in all seriousness, no, I think it's going to be pretty much business as usual. Tim would be the guy I go to refer on, what do you think about this, and this on offense? Phil, LeVar, and, Seth will do the same thing. We talk about a lot of things on Thursdays about what we do, four down territory, all those kinds of things, this situation, that situation. But the only missing part is, when you get in a game, sometimes there's a feel that flies in the face of maybe what you decide on Thursday, and sometimes you just got to make a call and go with a gut instinct. So, if that be the case, Seth will do a great job with that. He will have the final say on all that stuff, but we'll talk a lot of those things out, and then the receiver thing will work out internally. As I said last week, we got a really good staff, and the guys, young and old, the full-time coaches, but also the GAs, part-time guys, and we'll get it done. We'll cover that.
David Eichel, HawkeyeInsider.com. Kirk, TJ Hall listed as cornerback 2. There's no doubt that John Nestor is probably going to get some significant time, and Deshaun Lee. But what were maybe one or two things that ultimately gave TJ Hall kind of that, maybe just that extra little edge over the other two?
Probably just a little bit of consistency, and it's gone back and forth. It's a little bit like the running back position. Difference is that most of those guys have been available. The 4 corners have been competing and practicing, so probably a little consistency thing, but it's still really close. We have a lot of positions right now where, we got to start somewhere Saturday and start somewhere this week when we practice with our first team. But I will say this, it won't surprise me, especially in certain groups where it may take a month to figure out like where we're at. And I say that in a positive way because I think we have a lot of young guys right now that, we're going to learn a lot more about them. John Nestor's a good example. He hasn't played an awful lot. We've seen him on special teams. So to see him in game action, I think we'll learn a lot about him. I think our receiver room's a lot like that. The back thing will probably sort itself out, but I think we've got guys that are capable. So that's part of the process here as we move forward, and it'll be interesting to see what it looks like here 6 weeks from now as opposed to just this Saturday.
Chad Leistico, Des Moines Register. You've been at this for 25 years at Iowa, 28 in total as a head coach. In your opinion, what are the most important jobs for the head coach on game day itself? And I know you're probably going to give a self-deprecating answer here.
Yeah, no.
But no, so what is Seth like for Seth? What does he need to do the best on Saturday?
I'm laughing because they're chuckling. He gave me a report on what I do, and there's more there than I thought, I guess, because you just kind of do what's natural in your position, but. Yeah, I guess, some of the decisions we talked about are part of it. But if you think about over the course of 12 weeks, there aren't that many decisions you make and that are really critical, I don't think. But you just try to keep things in an even flow. I think, probably try to keep everybody's mood or approach in an even flow, too. And, if we're getting a little bit higher here or down here, you got to try to balance things out a little bit and just try to make sure everybody's focused on what they do. But, really in all seriousness, I don't mean this in a, to low-key it, but it's probably what you do during the week is more important, I think, and then certainly during camp and just year-long, just trying to, make sure everybody's kind of keeping their eyes on the target, what we think is important. And once you get to game day, I say this in all honesty, the players do win the games. They're the ones out there competing. We can't do that. There are times when we maybe do something that's helpful, but overall, it's how the players play. It really is. So, they'll do great. I mean, we've got a good leadership group here, and they'll do great. But there's going to be some challenges. There's no question about that. And there are going to be some things that we don't expect. So we just got to, kind of stay centered and just stay on course here.
Owen Sebring with KGAN. I saw that Kade Pieper is the backup center right now. He's a guy who's received a lot of praise from his fellow offensive linemen. Yep. Is that where he's firmly entrenched now, is just at center, or would we see him anywhere else on the O-line?
Yeah, he can play anywhere on the interior, and that's a good question because it kind of opens up we do have some flexibility this year, which is kind of nice going into this. We've trained him a lot or worked him a lot at the center position. Logan's not going to be here forever, so he's really done a good job there. But, Tyler jumped in last year. Ellsbury jumped in and did a really nice job. Tyler's worked all 5 positions, and it's not often you can say a guy can do that, but I think he can do that pretty effectively. He's got a lot of experience and practiced well. Nick Young's got the capability of playing a couple of spots. So, those would be our top 8 guys with the 5 starters. And, I think we probably have a little bit more versatility and flexibility than we've had in the past, which is good. And we've got some younger guys that are moving along, and we're going to try to keep them growing too. But yeah, those would be the top 8 guys. And yeah, Cade's been he's quote unquote undersized when we recruited him, but he was just a lean guy, and he's still lean, but he's really done a good job, and he's done a really nice job on the field.
John Sears, WHO-TV. Kirk, when you have a new offensive coordinator, new offensive schemes, what are some realistic expectations for you as the head coach as you enter game one?
It's like every game. I mean, you just want things to go smoothly, and you want the flow of things to be good. things that stop offenses are negative yardage plays, unforced errors, penalties, false starts, those kinds of things, alignment errors. So just, playing fundamentally sound that way would be a good starting point. Keeping the ball off the ground is always a good thing. And then, regardless of what you're doing, but there are going to be some things that are going to pop up and some things we're trying to get cleaned up in practice right now. We had Saturday off. Sunday we didn't do any football stuff. We just let the guys stretch and jog a little bit. So we got back into football again yesterday, and we took 2 whole days off without helmets on, and looked like we hadn't practiced in 6 weeks. So it's all of a sudden you're right back to trying to get the guys in there. Plus you're trying to deal with some things that maybe you haven't seen. So, but all that being said, I think just good effort, obviously playing fundamentally sound and not doing things that are going to beat us. That's a good starting point. Then if we can get a little momentum going and get hit a couple of plays, that's always a good thing too. It's usually what it takes for offensive production.
Blake Hornstein, Hawkeye headquarters. Coach, good to see you. It feels like as far as level-headedness goes, you have a unique approach to every single game. You treat every single game the same, whether it's an FCS team or, say Georgia 3 years ago. You guys treat every game as a unique challenge. As a coaching staff, how do you uniquely motivate your players every single week to treat every single game the same?
I mean, with all due respect, I just explained to our guys, like the people that think they know what's going to happen, most of them don't have to go out and compete. I think whoever it was, somebody said, experts are people that aren't accountable to anybody. And, so it's good to be an expert, I guess. But we got a lot invested. Everybody's got a lot invested. And one thing I've learned, in 20 plus years of being back here, and, it's no different in the NFL, although in the NFL, everybody's in the NFL. But, if everything starts with respecting your opponent, and in college football, anything can happen. Last weekend already illustrated that. There were at least 2 games, I think, that went, opposite of what people would have predicted. So it's just the nature of college football. And, we're talking about young people. They got a lot on their minds and a lot they got to deal with. They do go to class. They're trying to earn a degree. And, if you're not careful, you can get off the track and lose the concentration that's necessary to be good at this level. And, winning is hard. I think it's harder than it's ever been in college football. And that's a good thing. It's competitive, but you have to appreciate that, and you've got to understand it's week by week. And I think I said this somewhere in the last couple of press conferences. We only got 12 that are guaranteed. So it's really not that much compared to all the time we spend preparing and practice and training. It's just such a small percentage. So to think you can't be ready 12 times, there's really no excuse for that. And that's everybody's job.
Hey, Coach. Matt McGowan from the Daily Iowan. Just wanted to ask you about Xavier Damka. Obviously, a 5-star recruit coming to Iowa. How has he handled those expectations, and how has he grown throughout his time here?
He's been great. He's just absolutely great. And, I know 5 stars and all that, and we don't get a lot of those, but you would never know with him in the building, 5-star, 3-star, or 2-star. He's a quality young guy, first and foremost. Really does a nice job that way. And it's been fun to watch him improve each and every turn, so he's really doing well. He dealt with a little bit of a injury or a medical situation here during camp, so he missed some time. So he's, not maybe as far along as he would be in normal circumstances, but done a really good job, and expect him to have a really good year this year.
Kirk, Scott Docterman with The Athletic. I wanted to ask you about, earlier today, there was a documentary that dropped on Conor Stallions from Michigan. Yeah. And there was a segment that showed him with the game ball from Kinnick Stadium from 2 years ago, had his name placed upon it. What are your initial thoughts now that it's there, it's not a rumor anymore? Yeah. And then secondly, do you have any opinions on what should happen to the University of Michigan based on this?
Yeah, I'll let somebody else figure that out. And I just heard about it maybe an hour ago, something like that, and got an email. But that's so far out of it's history right now. So whatever happens, and the appropriate parties will deal with it. But our eyes are forward right now, and on that whole scenario, I never spent much time worrying too much about it. We got plenty to worry about right here. So that's kind of been my attitude. Yeah, thanks.
Kirk, Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report. Wanted to ask you about Reese Vandy and his appearance on the Two Deeps as a true freshman, and kind of dovetailing off that too. Any other true freshmen that you've decided maybe you're going to put out there on Saturday?
No, nobody firmly, I don't think. I think I'm correct in saying that. I probably should know, but nobody firmly. And I think we'll be able to protect a lot of guys in that redshirt mode with the four game rule. So, but we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. Two things in Reese, there's opportunity at the position, and then secondly, more importantly, he's done a good job. It was kind of frustrating because he had some stuff he was dealing with through the summertime medically, but that cleared up, I guess, right before camp, I guess it would have been, and he's done a really good job. He's learning quickly. He's done some really good things out there in the field, and yeah, he'll be on the field for sure Saturday. Yeah.
John Stubby, Cedar Rapids Gazette. What's really stood out to you about Bo Stevens kind of coming back from the injury last year and kind of through fall camp now?
Yeah, Bo's had quite a journey, since he got here, and that whole COVID class was, it's been interesting, but he's fought through a lot, the injuries, a lot of things that could have gotten him discouraged, and I'm not saying made him quit, but just, maybe, and I'm not saying make him break, but yeah, there are some things that he's had a tough go. He's really had to work hard for it, and we've had a couple guys really do a great job. But I think last spring was a big period for him. He was able to be out there all 15 days, and he's had a lot of injury things that have kept him in and out of the lineup and off the practice field. It's hard to gain traction and really get good if you can't be out there consistently. But spring was the first period where he went start to finish, no issues, and same thing in August. He's really had a good month, and I just told him this morning, I said, you really had a good camp, and you should feel confident because he's worked hard and he's really, he's done a good job. So I'm anxious to see him play. He'll have some ups and downs like all the guys on Saturday, but he's a guy that's got a really good future in front of him, and I'm just really pleased for him the way he's fought through and pushed through.
Adam Jacoby, Hawkeye Beacon. One position that hasn't been on the depth chart is returner. Any idea of who's been working, who's looking like a starter there?
Yeah, I got some idea, but I think Weege will be the punt return guy right now. Weege will be back there, and he'll be starting off there, and then Caleb on the most likely on kick return. Got a couple guys in the mix there, but that'll probably be what it looks like. I'd say that'd probably be where we'll go. I'm just trying to think here. Lutmer's also a guy, and then T.J. Hall at punt return. Lutmer would probably be 3 right now, and T.J. would be number 2. And then the kick return thing, we're still looking at that a little bit. Yep.
We'll finish up with Jack Shannon and Jack.
Hi, Kirk. Jack Leader with KCRG. When we spoke to the players, with one exception, pretty much everyone was not worried about, rallying around you as their coach who wouldn't be there on the sidelines. It's kind of, honestly, a little lukewarm. It wasn't rah-rah. Yeah. Was that something you instilled in them that first day you told them? And just as a clarifying point, practice this whole week, is it going to look basically the same as any other week with you leading it? Or will you kind of cede some leadership to Coach Wallace?
I'll do what I always do through Friday night, including the snack. I'll go to the snack, and we tell them a little bedtime story before they go to bed, and then we have a snack. So I'll be there for that. But yeah, it's business as normal for me. And I think last year I heard about rallying cries and stuff like that. I made a mistake, so I've owned it. Stepped on a line. I think the line was a little bit cloudy, a little bit blurry, but nonetheless I stepped on it. So that is what it is. And just like if a player were hurt, or we all go on. We just go on and keep pushing on, and so I won't be here. There's nothing to rally about or anything like that. The idea right now is to everybody do what they're supposed to do, and I'm confident they will. We got a good group of guys, and the staff will do a great job. So to me, it's almost a non-factor, and it could be the same thing if I got hit by a truck or something like that and wasn't there. So it's all kind of the same stuff.
Hey, Kirk. Shannon, KCCI. I know you talked about consistency, but where have you seen Kamari Molton grow?
Probably confidence. He's had a great attitude since he's been here. He's got good vision. He's bigger and stronger physically than he was certainly a year plus ago when he got here. So all that's good, and that's one of the benefits of experience. And so happy about that. He's got a tremendous attitude, but he's got a real good vision, a good ability to see things maybe other guys can't see. And that's been pretty consistent. It really started showing in December when we were doing more work with the guys. He'd been on the scout team most of the time last year. So it seemed like he was, maybe a guy who could pop through here a little bit. And I think he's certainly done that in August. And again, I envision us playing, a lot of the guys in the group. And Max White's done a good job too. So feel like it's a good group that way, and we'll just kind of see how it plays out as we keep going forward. And history would say we never have too many backs, that's for sure.
Chad Leist-Dakota, Des Moines Register. I know we talked a little bit about this in February, but honestly, hiring a new offensive coordinator probably overshadowed it. But you picked Seth Wallace as assistant head coach for a reason. Can you kind of articulate what you see in him that fills the role that you want to see on Saturday? And also, do you want him to kind of reflect what you do this Saturday, or kind of be his own person?
I'll start there. I mean, he's got to be himself. That's the most important thing. And if I've learned anything in coaching, like my mentor is very different personality-wise than I am. And the coaches I've worked for are very different than my personality. So you got to be yourself. That's first and foremost. Going back to February, basically, there's probably a reason I've never named one in 25 years, because there's upside and there's certainly some downside to it potentially. So I don't want anybody to take it as like, picking, I like my fourth son or fourth kid better, my third kid, that type of deal. But he's just done a great job. He's really, and it's no foreshadowing, none of that stuff. It was just, I felt it was time to reward him. He's had opportunities to leave, and several other our coaches have as well. But I just thought it was a good way to recognize the fact that he wanted to stay at the program. We certainly want him to stay. And I just think it made sense at that time. There was nothing more to it than that. But he's done a great job. But I've got total confidence. We got a really good staff of guys, and guys that have been here for the most part for quite a while, or have association with the program for quite a while. And I've said it before. I mean, the best part of my day is walking in here, outside of being with my wife Mary, obviously. But I was walking in here and being with a lot of good people that we're all kind of working. We're different, but we're all working towards the same thing, and that's a fun thing to be part of. Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks,